Hi, this is Eddie Deezen. You're listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall. I was Mandark in Dexter's Laboratory. Ha 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 ha.
You are listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall on Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Hey, what's up, guys? Chris Stolle back with another Breaking the Fourth Wall, and I'll tell you what, guys, I'm looking forward to this one. I'm sitting down with the daughter of comedian George Hopkins. She is a actress, director, writer, producer. Hell, she's probably washed your car once or twice. She has been in modeling since she was 3 years old, 2 or 3 years old, if I'm reading that correctly. And I mean, you can't say enough about this person, ladies and gentlemen. Kim Hopkins. How you doing today, Kim?
I'm awesome. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing fine. I'm better now that I'm in the warmth.
It's cold here. Where are you?
I'm in Philly.
Oh, God. Well, it must be really cold there. It was 48 today. I went for a walk, and I thought my nose was going to freeze off.
A lot of my listeners know, you don't know, but a lot of my listeners know my day job is I'm a fence installer. So I work outside all day, every day. And today was about 35 and snow flurries off and on all day. So I was frozen by the time I came home.
I don't know how you do that. I bet. That's cold.
But, yeah, so obviously the first question I got to ask is, really 3 years old is when, 2.5, 3 years old is when you started breaking into this business?
Yeah, there was a very famous photographer named Bert Stern who saw me on the subway and said to my mom, that little girl needs to be on covers of magazines. And that was the first thing I did, was a cover of a magazine for McCall's.
Yep. I was looking at that, and I mean, looking at the bio, I mean, first off, you're the daughter of a comedian who...
Yes.
I mean, is that something you definitely grew up wanting to do, is like seeing your dad on stage, like, I could do that too, I want to do that? Or...
You know, it's a funny thing. I don't remember actually thinking that, but there is an article, and it says that one of the first things I said, I want to be a comedian just like my daddy. And yeah, so I guess I did.
I saw that on IMDb as Times, I believe, talked to you about that, and that you promised that you would be a comedian like your dad.
Yep. The funny thing is, on the back side of that, the flip side of that paper, there's a 1-inch picture of Elvis Presley and a picture of Kent Peefless. I thought,
nice.
Wow, I got a whole, half page. It was really nice.
So, I mean, the big thing that comes from it is how do you go from childhood modeling and, I guess, having aspirations of being a stand-up comic to acting, directing, and writing?
Well, I think it was just a natural progression. I modeled all over the world, and then when I finally settled back down in LA, I went to a class just on a fluke. And started acting, and I booked right away. I thought it was actually a modeling interview that I was going to,
right? But
it was an audition for Hollywood Nights, and I booked it, and that was a comedy. So the first few films I did were comedy.
Right. No, I've seen that, especially one of the biggest names that jumped out at me from your filmography. A lot of people will recognize as Cheech and Chong's next movie.
Yes, that was one of the highlight. It was so much fun working with him. Tommy directed that, and Tommy was amazing. I just ran into him a few days ago, and he looks great. And he was one of the best directors I ever worked with. I really enjoyed working with him. But they're funny guys, really funny.
Look, I'm gonna sound like one of those film and TV marks here, but I've got to ask: is he like that in real life, or is it an act?
Tommy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Tommy. That's how he is. He's adorable.
Nice.
He's the sweetest man ever. He's just the sweetest man. But yeah, that's him.
Yeah, I didn't know. Like, obviously, I expect, like you see him on that '70s show or the Cheech and Chong things. You know he's acting, but it's like, does he sound like a hippie stoner when he's not acting too? Is that just him?
Yeah, he kind of does. And Cheech is a little different, out of his character. He's exceptionally. They're both really bright men,
Right?
And they're intelligent and fun to be around. But Cheech is a little different when he's not in character. But Tommy sounds just like that. He's just a doll. He's just honestly the sweetest man.
I had to ask since you said that you just talked to him and all, But this is about you, not about Tommy Chong. If I want to talk about Tommy Chong, I got to figure out how to book him. Oh. But
okay.
But no, I mean, you've also done a lot of reoccurring comedy sketches on the Tonight Show.
Yeah, I did. Worked with Johnny a lot, actually. That was fun. He was great to work with. And George Burns pinched my rear end one time backstage. That was exciting.
What's funny is growing up, some of my favorite comedians were the old-timey comedians, Abbott and Costello and Burns and Gracie. My jaw just dropped you telling me that George Burns pinched your ass.
My jaw dropped at that time. I was like, what the? Oh, hey, okay. That was kind of wild. Yeah, but Johnny was wonderful to work with, and he's such a professional, and he was everything went according to plan, but he was a perfectionist, and it was great. Actually, I got to work with Richard Dawson, too. I did the International Family Feud, and I was Koo Stark. So,
wow.
That was fun. Yeah.
Did you win?
In a bikini. Well, did we win? They actually shushed me off stage because I was in a rather sexy one-piece bathing suit. So I had to skedaddle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a family show. You got to walk away. No. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing all the things that I see that you've done here. Modeled for Oil of Olay. You became the face of Ivory soap commercials, and as the Ivory Baby. You've enjoyed success since before the age of 12. I did a lot. Go ahead. Oh no! Please.
Modeling from 3 to 12, I did a lot of modeling. I was on covers of magazines. I was an Ivory Baby. I did so much as a child, and then we moved to California, and I continued, and then I started traveling all over the world modeling. So it became my life. It was wonderful to get to travel and see the world that way. You get treated a little bit differently, especially Japan and Tokyo. Well, everywhere I went, they thought I was whatever nationality where I went. Like in Japan, they'd come up to me and start speaking to me in Japanese, and I was like, American, don't speak like, oh, I thought that was hysterical. And Mexico, same thing. I was in Mexico for 2.5 years, and I didn't speak any Spanish when I got down there, and that was fun. Yeah, they had me do a commercial for Saba Intima, which is a women's hygiene product. And
oh, wow.
I was I didn't know myself, but yeah, that probably was not the smartest thing to do. They were kind of funny about it when I'd run around town. There was a little symbol that you did with your fingers, and people would do it under the table and go, "That's the Saba Intima girl." Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, see, that was one of the things I wanted to ask. The reason I keep harping on the such a young age and breaking into modeling and all is what kind of a world is that for a child? I mean, was this just fun to you, or was this aspiration even at a young age? Or
no, I was so little, I really didn't know. But I I was born happy, and I really enjoyed it. My mom didn't push it on me.
Okay.
And they were wonderful everywhere I worked. And because I was working at such a high level with such, big photographers, it was really delightful. That's all I can say. I enjoyed it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have continued. So for me back then, it was fine. I wouldn't suggest it for young girls these days.
Right, because the industry probably is a lot different than it was then.
Yeah, it changed. As I got into my 20s, there was a big difference. And now I discourage parents from having their young daughters doing modeling. It's just, I think the mindset is not, back then it didn't matter. They were cute. You could be a little overweight or whatever. Nowadays, it's just not the same thing.
Oh yeah, like the what was it? The tiaras and toddlers and tiaras or something like that.
Oh God.
Where you seen them just like I would borderline call it child abuse.
I wouldn't even borderline that. I'd go full blast. That is child abuse. Here's the thing. I got my son into acting, not intentionally. He just kind of fell into it also. But a lot of the kids, I would see the parents, they want to do the work. And so they push their children to do things that they don't really want to do. And it's just not a world for children, I don't think, anymore. If the child wants to do it, that's a different thing. But I think most of the parents out there, especially the toddlers and tiara crowd, that's a whole different ball of wax. I don't even understand that. Who wants their little girl to look like a Playboy centerfold? I don't know.
I absolutely agree. It's obviously in a different realm, but on our sister channel, Sounds Dicey Gaming, where we run tabletop RPG things like Dungeons and Dragons and the like, and in a sense, it's kind of like acting. We have a show called Little Crits, and what Little Crits is we have young players. Two of the players are my children, who are 9 and 11 years old. And the reason I bring that up is I never wanted to exploit them. I just simply asked, they heard me doing it and they wanted to know what I was doing, and I asked them if they wanted to try it, and little did I know it became a show that they wanted to do. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, see, that's different. That's a whole different thing. And if they enjoy it and they love it and they're having fun, that's great. But I don't see how that's fun for those little girls. I just don't think that they're having fun. But more power to you with your son. Look, my son, I think I have a little thing, I'll send it to you, that my son wrote for me on Mother's Day.
Okay.
And he actually wrote, I love my mom because she let me decide whether I wanted to act or not, and I can get out of it whenever I want to. And that's how it was. And when he decided not to, he was on a television show for a couple of years, a series
Movie
regular
stars.
role. Yes, exactly. But when he decided he didn't, that show didn't get picked up for the last season, and he said he didn't want to act anymore because he was so attached to Harry Hamlin and some of the other cast members, and he said he didn't want to ever miss anybody like that. And I said, that's fine with me. So he turned down a feature film, and he just decided not to act anymore. Now he's an engineer. So, and he's very happy, but it was his choice. It was his choice to do it. It was his choice to stop.
I think that's awesome, though. I was going to ask about him too, and I don't want to drop his name because I know some people are funny about that.
Oh no, that's fine. No, it's fine.
But I was going to ask, do you think it's a possibility of him following in your footsteps of and Grandpa's footsteps of one day taking the stand-up stage?
Well, I think he did it once, not where I could see it happen. He's really funny, but he is a mechanical engineer, and he works for one of the biggest aerospace companies, and he's really happy doing that. He makes good money. He's happily married and living in Florida, and I think that's pretty much what he wants to do. But I have to tell you a funny story.
All ears.
Yeah, he did a video with the Olsen twins, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's costume party. And he danced and he sang. I think he was about 9. He was missing teeth and wasn't probably his best looking year ever.
Right.
one of his coworkers realized that he was the same Zach Hopkins from that video. And they were out at a bar, and he told the waitress, "You know who this guy is?" Pulls up the video and starts showing it to the girl. My son, of course, is mortified. So the guy starts doing it everywhere they go. This is Zach Hopkins. So my son decided with one of their other coworkers to go to Kinko's, and he blew up all of his headshots to poster size and some photos of us from different gigs that we had done together and some promo pieces. And he plastered the guy's office at 6 o'clock in the morning with just poster-sized pictures of himself and put them in his drawers, under his desk, on his computer, everywhere, and made a little video for me to show me what he did. And the guy came in, and the guy was cracking up. He left it up for a week because he loved it so much.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear you got the revenge too, because when you told me that he was at a bar and he's showing the waitress the 9-year-old pictures, all I'm envisioning is the same picture that every mother has, and that's you as a child in the bathtub. And they whip it out, and like my mother would do it to me. Like I'd bring a girl home that I'm starting to date or whatever. It's like, oh, let's pull out the family. Oh God, no, I know it's coming. I'm so happy he got revenge on that.
Yeah, the one of Zach that I have is way worse than the bathtub pictures. And I do pull it out. Thank God he got married, because now I don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah, not until his kids get old enough, right?
I didn't even think of that. That's great. I have another chance. Awesome.
Oh man. But I mean, yeah, that was the first thought that popped into my head when you were telling that story. I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna tell the bathtub picture story.
Nope.
Oh Lord, that's hilarious. But I'm glad he did that, and that was something I definitely wanted to ask. Is like both your father and your son. Did you get a chance to work with them at any point?
Oh, I did work with my son a bunch. He didn't actually want to work with me. One of the first commercials that I did when I went back to work after I had him was for SeaWorld. And he went with me down to San Diego to film it. And he just happened to have been sitting next to me. So he ended up in that commercial. I think he was 3. And he hated sitting still. He was like, I don't ever want to do this again, Mommy. I said, that's fine. You don't have to. Don't worry about it. We did a play together, which is where he started his acting career, because the producer said, you want to do commercials? He said, no. And he said, you can make a lot of money. And my son went, what? Wait, what? Money? So, yeah. We did. It turned out like every time he did something professionally, there would be people that I knew on the set, and they'd be like, oh my God, Kim, where have you been? Raising him and getting his acting career going. So I would do small parts in that. And if I was working on something, he would do small parts in it. I did do a small part on Movie Stars.
Okay.
Yeah, so we worked together a lot. My dad, no. I did not ever do anything with my dad. Although after I did my first stand-up, I sent it to my father. He was blind by the time I did it.
Oh.
And I didn't tell him. Yeah, I know, it was sad. That was a very sad thing when I found out he was blind. I hadn't talked to him in a couple of years. And I was going through Miami, and I called him. I said, I want to stop by and see you. And he goes, that's fine, but I can't see you. And I went, what? And he said, yeah, I have macular degeneration. And I still tear up. I said, you're not going to be able to see my cute little face. And he said, no, honey, I can't.
Oh.
So, yeah, that was tough. That was a tough moment for me. But once I did do the stand-up without telling him I was going to do it, I sent him the video on YouTube, and my stepmother played it for him, and he really enjoyed hearing it. So we did bond over that, and he, helped me a little bit. Not much. He was really old school. He was still doing Catskill stuff. So, but we did talk about it a lot, but we never actually worked together.
Oh, that's a shame, and I'm heartbroken about the degenerative disease that cost him his eyesight. It's ironic.
Yeah, that was tough. Actually, about.
Good.
Yeah, it was just.
Well, a couple years ago, I used to be an independent professional wrestler, and I worked for a company called Rocky Mountain Championship Wrestling, which was owned by a man named Michael Hunt, and that was his real name. People, don't laugh and don't use the abbreviation. Now, Mike was a professional wrestler. He could work in the ring, and of course, he owned his own company, RMCW and all. But he had the exact same thing. He was a blind wrestler. He could only see 20% of his peripheral vision. Basically, the way he described it to me is he could see shadows out of the corner of his eye. That was it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was literally the same thing. Like, he was born with full eyesight, and by 18, he just started losing it, and it just got worse as time went on. So it's amazing hearing these stories about people who have gone through that, and I can't even imagine it.
I can't imagine it either. But I can tell you another funny story about my lovely father, who
absolutely
rode Harleys his whole life. That was his. I mean, he was a Harley guy. He had his leathers, and he had two beautiful bikes. And even though he was blind, he was still riding his Harley in Miami. And he would just ride, and he would pull over, and he would get off and pull out his little cane and walk down the street. Dad, it's dangerous. He goes, I can still see big things like trucks. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, but can you imagine being on the sidewalk or on the street and seeing some guy get off his motorcycle and pull out his cane and like have to, hello? He was a nut. He was a nut.
It's funny. I've made similar jokes years ago. Like, I used to say, I always wanted to get a car, and I wanted to weld a spring on the front bumper and then put one of those seeing eye canes right on the front of it so it taps in the front of the car as they're driving.
That's funny. That would be really funny. You should do that. That's hysterical.
I don't know. This day and age, I might offend somebody.
Oh yeah, true. Well, yeah, these days.
That brings up a good point. Since you are in the world of comedy and stand-up comedy now, has the comedy world really changed with a lot of today's climate of I don't want to use the term political correctness, but for lack of a better term, being more sensitive to things as I asked this a lot of comedians because growing up on comedians like Andrew Dice Clay or Gallagher, I don't think they would ever have, or Dennis Leary. They would die in today's climate, in my opinion.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, you can't do the same stuff he used to do. I mean, how many people have gotten blasted for just, the silliest things these days? No, it's changed a lot. I mean, what hasn't changed is that women are still not as well respected as men.
Right.
And I tend to do a clean set when I do it. But yeah, no, I don't think you can do what they used to, especially Andrew Dice Clay. I mean, no. It's a whole different world.
Oh, he
yeah.
was
And I actually used to think it was funny. Yeah. Oh, no, it way over the line. I mean, but I thought it was funny. It was uncomfortably funny. Like, it wouldn't be something I would tell my friends I was listening to, but
right.
I thought it was funny.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's fascinating to me because I've always been a stand-up comic fan. I don't know, and I've been a musician, I've been a pro wrestler. I don't know if I'd have the cojones to ever get on stage and try to tell jokes.
You know something? It's so much fun when you do it that, I think everybody gets nervous right before you go on stage. I'm never nervous up until the minute right before I go on stage. And then there's 15 seconds of just should I just turn around and walk away? No, gonna go. Once you get out there and someone laughs, it's the most amazing thing. It's like most actors love theater because there's the instant response. And so you feel that you're accomplishing something. But with comedy, there's really nothing like it, and I think everybody should try it once at least. It's really fun. Although I will tell you, I did the World Series of Comedy in Las Vegas, and I went on, I think at 11 o'clock at night after the unknown comic who kind of just dropped in. And I went out, and my first couple of jokes, people were cracking up. And then I did a joke that didn't go over well with the ladies. And so they stopped laughing. Their husbands and boyfriends stopped laughing. And literally, I was the only one laughing for the next 6 minutes. Oh. And I laughed my ass off as I told my jokes. Yeah, it went completely dead silent. And when I went backstage, the MC said, "What happened out there? You were so funny. We were cracking up back here." And I said, I don't really know what happened out there. But and most comedians that I've talked to have said, yeah, when that happens, man, it's the worst feeling. I was having a ball. I knew I was funny, to me anyway. So I was laughing and having a blast. It didn't bother me that much. But it's like really quiet in your head, you know?
Right.
But I had fun anyway. So, I mean, if that's the worst that can happen, go try it. You should try it.
Well, maybe one day I'll drink enough beers to jump in front of an open mic. But that is a question I'll ask since you do the stand up and all. They say, and not again without having personal experience, they say comedy usually comes from a very dark place. But obviously, your background, your upbringing, you didn't have a whole lot of negativity to draw from. What is your inspiration for your act, your show, your comedy?
Personal experience. I mean, I basically tell stories, and I fortunately have lots of fun things to tell, like the time that my mom shot herself in the foot, and I asked her if the bullet went through the ceiling and if she checked on the neighbors, that kind of thing. Yeah, because she just was like, "Oh, I forgot I had a gun in the closet." And I said, "Mom?" She goes, "Yeah, don't tell anybody, but I shot myself in the foot." And I said, "Okay, where's the bullet? Is it still in your foot?" And she was like, "I don't know. I don't think so." I said, "Did you check the floor?" She said, "Well, I don't find it anywhere." I said, "Did you check the downstairs neighbors, Mom? Because where did the bullet go?" She goes, "Well, I don't think they're home. I haven't heard them." "Oh, okay. Yes, maybe you need to go down and check them." This is, I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm telling you, this is the actual story as it happened. And I called my son and said, "Zach, you need to go over there right now and get that gun from Grandma and find out if the neighbors are okay, because we didn't know what happened." She broke bones in her foot. She actually did shoot herself in the foot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But there was darkness in my life, and my father definitely was not the happiest person. He had a very dark personality. He was not a happy person, I wouldn't say.
Okay.
So I don't have darkness, and that's not where my comedy comes from. I think my comedy just comes from like crazy. I mean, I had a crazy father and a crazy mommy and crazy life, and I work in Hollywood, so there's all kinds of things to talk about.
Some of your stories deal with some of the, like, on-set mishaps and all. Like, I was one of the things I was laughing at with your story with your mom as an example wasn't so much about your mom shooting herself in the foot or anything. Quite honestly, the thing that had me laughing was the "don't tell nobody," because that's almost a setup for every joke, and that's usually how the jokes usually start, isn't it? Like somebody tells you, "Don't tell nobody." Well, now I've got to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how do you not tell somebody that story? You have to. I haven't ever used anything from the set. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I should write some things, because there's been plenty of stuff that's happened on set to write about. No, I haven't. That's a good idea. I will do that.
Well, happy to help. But I definitely want to get this in. I'm gonna change directions here a little bit here. Current projects. Before we started recording, you were telling me about a couple that you could and a couple you could not talk about. To make sure I don't mention the ones that you can't yet talk about, I'll just simply
Mm-hmm.
ask, what are you working on these days that you would like to have the people know about?
Well, I am working on a pilot, which I can't really talk a lot about. I can tell you about the character. Her name is Grace, and she is she owns a flower shop, and she gets involved with drugs at some point. And her whole life changes, but she still stays a really sweet flower shop owner. So it's an interesting character, and I'm really looking forward to that. So as soon as I can tell more about it, I will definitely come back on your show so you can be the first to tell people what it is.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be honored.
But other than that'd be awesome. The other thing is I teach actors how to not just act, but how to become working actors. I have a class that's called Live in the Moment Acting Class that I teach in Los Angeles on Saturdays. And we work on acting, and we also work on branding and marketing and getting them out there and getting them working. And I've gotten quite a few of my actors, managers, and agents and acting gigs. And I offer every month 2 veterans and 2 handicapped artists a free month of class. And I also shoot at the every month professionally shot footage for their reels, and it's professionally edited, so that's included in their free month.
Oh, wow.
So I like to give back, and I think veterans, there's a lot of work for veterans, and there are a lot of veterans who want to get into it, and handicapped people also, so I like to give back that way.
Well, again, as I told you off air, I was at a previous interview with George Romero. He's doing something very similar, which I think is absolutely awesome. It's especially for our veterans, like, and of course the disabled as well. But I mean, for veterans, like since the 60s and 70s, where a lot of veterans felt like they've been left behind. It's such a great thing to hear that people want to do things to help veterans, and especially like I was explaining to George, how a lot of them have PTSD and really have not figured out how to again reincorporate themselves in normal society. You know, I think it would be a great outlet for them. So I definitely applaud you for that very, very, very much.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm proud. I have one veteran in my class right now, Brady Allen, and he's been in the class only about 3 months. He already booked a gig. He worked 3 weeks, and he's doing so great. And I've watched him. I mean, he's been acting for 15 years, but he kind of took himself out of it, I think, because of, having been in the services. And he's just, it's made him blossom. And I mean, I'm so proud of him. And I hope that I can help other people that way. It would be wonderful. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting in touch with George Romero. That would be awesome.
I think you guys are a match made in heaven for that, and I think a lot of people could benefit from it. So I'm absolutely thrilled to hear about it, and hope that I can make a connection for you guys on that. But yeah,
that's awesome.
If you are interested in her acting classes, and especially if you are a veteran or a disabled person, there will be a link to the program in the description below to contact Kim and be able to get started on that. We will make sure that is in the description, both on the YouTube and the audio format. So just scroll down to the description where you got to go through all my different links to find the shows and all that. But you will find right there. I will make sure the information is there and available for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Back to it here, because we barely scraped in. You did state that you took some time off to raise Zach when you had him, and then you came back to it, and you were doing commercials, and of course still doing film and all, and you did mention something you can't necessarily talk about, with the character of Grace.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still staying completely active in the acting community, but which we talked about, but we haven't discussed too much about your writing and directing credits. How did you get involved in that, going behind the camera?
Well, I realized if I wanted to go back to work after I took off for a while that I needed to produce some of my own work. And then I realized I didn't know how to do anything behind the camera. I had sat in on casting sessions and I had been, on some sets when I wasn't working, but I didn't really understand it. So I decided to go to film school. So I went to the New York Film Academy to study directing, and I learned how to do everything that you have to do on the set. And I did a short film called Animals, which I wrote, directed, produced, cast, starred in. I really basically did it all by myself, and it came out great. I got $3 million of funding to make it into a feature, and I still need another $4 million about to do it, which I'll put it together. I'm not in any big hurry with it,
Right.
but the reason I actually started was because I wanted to produce something for myself. And then once I got into it, I was like, this is amazing. I love directing, which is another reason I love teaching, because I like, it gives me the ability to be able to direct on a regular basis, even though it's just small little things. But when we shoot every month, I get to direct my actors. So
that's awesome. What are some of your favorite memories in directing, since you talk about directing being like teaching? Give me an example of one time where you stepped up and schooled an actor or actress, for lack of a better term.
Well, I'm a really gentle director, I would say, and I really like to let people do what they want to do. I don't think I've ever schooled anyone, really. I try to get them to understand, what they're doing, what they're not doing that I need to get from them. But I will say, when I was directing Animals, the Johnny Ray Diaz, who I have to tell you, this guy, when he came in to audition for me, I probably saw 30 guys for that role. And when he came in and as he started, I went to push the button to start filming his audition, and I missed it, and I totally forgot to go back and do it. He was so incredibly talented. I have to tell you, the most amazing thing is to see somebody really nail it.
Right.
So having him on set and directing him, it was probably one of the highlights of my life. I mean, he was such a dream, but I did have to, tweak just a little bit, but I can't explain. It's more about telling the DP what to do than it is about telling the actors. I mean, to get them to understand what you're looking for and what you want.
That's fair enough. I being a big Star Wars fan, of course, I watched a lot of behind the scenes of like George Lucas, for example, where a lot of times he's stated it's like you pay more attention to, is the lighting right, or is the background props moving or whatever, than really paying attention to the actor itself, because you pretty much trust that they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Unless they're really screwing up, and then I mean, and I have had to tell people, that's not what I want. Excuse me, but there's so much to pay attention to when you're directing. I mean, you're in charge of everything, really. So it's a big job. I didn't realize how big of a job it is, but once you're in it, it just becomes like your world. It's like a game. I think, when you're in those games, you have to watch every little thing that's happening everywhere.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
No,
so it's sort of like that.
All right. Well, then,
yeah.
The big question of the hour now is, what's next? You've done acting, you've done directing, you've done writing, producing, obviously, stand-up comedy. What's next for Kim Hopkins? A novel?
I actually am going to write a book. Every time I tell people some of my stories, they're like, "Oh my God, you should write a book." And I hesitate because some of the stories probably people won't want me to write, but I've had a really incredible life, and it's starting to occur to me. Like the more I talk to people, the more I realize I've really had an amazing life. So I am going to write a book.
Oh, excellent. I will promote the hell out of it for you if you do.
Thank you. But I think I'm going to continue acting, and that's really where I'm going to focus, is acting and helping other actors realize their dreams, which is, I just love it. I love watching other people enjoy what they're doing and watching them, get where they want to be. It means a lot to me to help people. So
that's an excellent,
that's what I'm going to keep doing.
Attitude. That is an excellent attitude. And I think for the final thing that I'll ask of you, this one's kind of a stock question. It is,
okay.
But because of the situation and what you do for people, trying to help them realize their dreams and everything, a lot of people may not understand or realize how to get started. They may have these big dreams of being an actor, a writer, a director, things of that nature, even stand-up comedy. So it's a stock question, but in your opinion, what advice would you give these people to take the first steps?
To take the first steps. Boy, that's a tough question. I would say reach out to somebody who can help you. I mean, I'm more than happy to have anybody reach out to me, and I help people for free all the time. If they want to know, depending on what their market they're in. I mean, I help people. I was talking to a guy in Germany the other day. But reach out to somebody who's in the business, and don't be afraid to reach out to somebody who's a big name, because those people don't get asked very often, and they're always willing to help. So I think that's my best advice, is reach out to people who are doing it and doing it well, instead of listening to people who are charging you and they don't really have the background.
Right. And that was one of the things I was thinking of, because I remember back when I was a musician and I would try to figure out how to progress in the music scene. You of course you had the shysters that were always like, well, pay me this much money and I'll promote your band, or whatever. But sometimes the advice you got was play the smoker shows, play the the bars any bar that'll sign you up, and you realize quickly, like, that would be all right advice if you tweak it a little bit. You don't want to play a country club if you're a rock band.
Right. Your career ends really quickly.
The old age home probably won't appreciate your rendition of Enter Sandman. I mean,
you never know.
you never know. So, like, with acting, I got to imagine it's kind of the same thing. Like, local theater or improv groups or something of that nature may be a good idea, but make sure it's, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong here, make sure it's the direction you want to go.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you hear this all the time. People are like, well, I just saw a post on Facebook. This person was like, should I move to LA or should I stay in Texas and build up my resume? And I would say 90% of the people said, stay in Texas. LA's a really rough town. It's not that easy. You need to be good. And it's like, no, if you want to be an actor, you need to be in New York or Los Angeles or Atlanta. Get your butt there. Make sure that you're good at what you do. And that's one of the things, I mean, and it's really important. If you can't act, you're not going to make it. I mean, yes, there are people who can't act very well who are working, but you're not going to break into the business that way. So you want to be trained, and I don't mean method acting. I mean, you need to be an organic actor. You need to have some talent to bring to it, and then move to the town where the work is, instead of trying to do it in these small towns, because it's not going to happen. And I think you should go for your dreams. That's what I think. That's my advice. Go for your dreams.
Hey, the worst thing in life that you could ever say is at least you tried.
Yeah. Yes. I actually was with a friend today. I was telling them that I drove a GT40 on Laguna Seca racetrack, and they were like, what? I said, yeah, I mean, I'll do anything. I used to race my E36 M3 out at Willow Springs, and I snowboard and I ski and I ran a marathon, and I will do anything. I mean, life only happens once, so I try to do everything I can. Stand up, acting, modeling, whatever it is. I think you should try to do things that are out of your comfort zone and just enjoy your life, because you get one that I know of.
I can't even think of a better way of ending the show or getting any other piece of advice than that. Is simply live your life.
Yes.
You only get one. Make it the best one you got.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more to that.
Yay.
Kim, this has been an absolute pleasure. I thank you very, very much for coming on to this show here. Once again, if people want to contact you, not just for acting, but maybe they have some questions that I didn't ask here, or whatever the case may be, is there anything you'd like to add to the listeners to let them know where they can get in touch with you, or maybe learn more about you? You can go to my website, kimhopkins.net. You can find me on Facebook at the Kim Hopkins and on Instagram at the Kim Hopkins. I answer all my messages on Facebook and Instagram. So, yeah. There you go. And guys, of course, for Realm of the Mist Entertainment, thank you very much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, in any capacity, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, comment, subscribe. Check out all the other great podcasts of Realm of the Mist Entertainment. And, of course, jump over to our sister channel, Sounds Dicey Gaming, for tabletop content, video game Let's Plays, and just a bunch of general fun. And, of course, if you're interested in the audio-only formats of the shows, of course, you could look up Realm of the Mist at Anchor.fm, Apple iTunes, or wherever quality podcasts can be heard. Kim, one more time, thank you very, very much. This was an honor and a blessing, and I look forward to hearing from you again when that book comes out.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
All right. And, guys, thank you very much for hanging with us, and I will catch you on the next Breaking the Fourth Wall. Have a good night.